The sound of laughter and music echoed across the lake, floating on the cool evening breeze. Tracie stood at the edge of the water, watching the twinkling lights from the houses on the other side. The parties there were legendary. Everyone from town would gather, dancing and laughing late into the night. But Tracie had never been to one. She wanted to go more than anything, but the thought of swimming across the cold, dark water filled her with dread. She had never been a strong swimmer, and the idea of plunging into the icy lake, feeling the cold water close around her, was terrifying. She had tried to get over it, had even dipped her toes into the water a few times. But each time the coldness seemed to paralyze her, freezing her in place. The fear of the cold and the unknown was too much to bear. Every weekend, she would sit on her porch, listening to the distant sounds of the parties, feeling a pang of longing. She imagined what it would be like to be there, to feel the warmth of the fire, to be surrounded by friends, to maybe even meet someone special. But each time she let herself imagine it, the fear would creep in, reminding her that it was impossible. The lake was too cold, too vast. She couldn't do it. One night, as she sat alone on her porch, the music from the other side of the lake drifting to her once again, Tracie felt a deep sense of frustration. She was tired of feeling trapped by her fear, tired of watching life pass her by. There had to be a way to get over it, to finally take that plunge. She had heard about shifting before, mostly through whispers and online forums. People talked about it like it was some kind of magic, a way to change your reality by changing your thoughts. Tracie had always been a little skeptical, but she was desperate. She had tried everything else. Maybe this was the answer she had been looking for. That night, she started reading about shifting. She found stories of people who had used it to overcome their fears, to change their lives. They talked about visualizing their desired reality, about feeling it as if it was already true. It sounded almost too simple, but Tracie was willing to try anything at this point. She spent hours that night reading, immersing herself in the idea of shifting. She learned about the power of the subconscious mind, how it could be reprogrammed through repetition and belief. She found a technique that resonated with her, visualizing herself already on the other side of the lake, at the party, feeling confident and happy. Tracie decided to give it a try. Every night before bed, she would close her eyes and imagine herself at the party. She would picture the lights, hear the music, feel the warmth of the fire. She would imagine herself laughing with friends, feeling completely at ease. And most importantly, she would imagine herself getting there, swimming across the lake with ease, feeling the cold water but not letting it stop her. At first, it was difficult. Her mind would often wander, and the fear would creep back in, making her doubt that it could ever work. But she kept at it, night after night. She started to notice that the more she visualized, the more real it began to feel. She could almost feel the water, cold but not unbearable, could almost hear the sounds of the party getting closer as she swam. Weeks went by, and Tracie continued with her nightly visualizations. She noticed subtle changes in herself. She felt a little more confident, a little less afraid. The lake didn't seem quite as daunting as it once had. The fear was still there, but it was starting to lose its grip on her. Then one day, something shifted. It was a cold, clear morning, and Tracie woke up with a sense of determination. She didn't know why, but she felt different, like something had clicked into place. She decided to test herself, to see if all the visualizing had made a difference. She filled her bathtub with cold water, as cold as she could stand. She stepped in slowly, feeling the chill prick her skin. It was uncomfortable, but not unbearable. She sat down, letting the cold water surround her. Her breath caught in her throat, but she forced herself to relax, to breathe through it. She closed her eyes and imagined herself in the lake, swimming towards the other side. The cold was there, but it wasn't paralyzing. She could do this. She stayed in the cold water for a few minutes, until she felt her body adjusting to it. When she finally got out, she felt a rush of exhilaration. She had done it. She had faced the cold and come out the other side. It was just a small step, but it felt like a victory. That evening, as the sun began to set, Tracie stood at the edge of the lake once again. The lights were starting to flicker on across the water, the sounds of laughter and music already beginning to drift towards her. She felt a flutter of nerves, but also a sense of resolve. She had visualized this moment so many times. Now it was time to make it real. Without giving herself time to think, she waded into the water. The cold was a shock, but she didn't stop. She pushed forward, her breaths coming in sharp bursts as the water rose higher and higher. When it reached her chest, she paused, feeling the cold seep into her bones. But instead of retreating, she remembered her visualizations, remembered the feeling of swimming across with ease. Taking a deep breath, Tracie began to swim. The water was cold, but she focused on her goal, on the lights on the other side. With each stroke, she felt a little more confident, a little more determined. The cold was there, but it wasn't stopping her. She was doing it. She was really doing it. The swim felt like it took forever, but finally, she felt the ground rise beneath her feet. She stood up, water streaming from her clothes, and looked around. She had made it. She was on the other side of the lake, the party just a short walk away. As she made her way towards the lights, Tracie felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she had ever felt before. She had faced her fear, had shifted her reality, and now she was here. She felt like she could do anything. The party was just as she had imagined, lively and warm, filled with laughter and music. Tracie mingled with the crowd, feeling more at ease than she had in years. She met new people, danced, and for the first time in a long time, felt truly free. And then, just as the night was winding down, she met him. He was standing by the fire, a quiet smile on his face as he watched the flames. Their eyes met, and Tracie felt a spark, something she hadn't felt in a long time. They started talking, and it felt easy, natural. He was kind, funny, and as the night went on, Tracie found herself drawn to him more and more. They talked about everything, about life, about dreams, about the future. And as the night turned into morning, Tracie realized that she had found something special, something she hadn't even known she was looking for. In the weeks that followed, Tracie and the man from the party grew closer. They spent more time together, and each time, Tracie felt that spark grow stronger. She had never believed in love at first sight, but this felt different, like everything had been leading up to this moment. One evening, as they sat by the lake watching the sunset, he turned to her and said, "I know this might sound crazy, but I feel like I've been waiting for you my whole life." Tracie smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "I think I've been waiting for you too." They kissed, and in that moment, Tracie knew that she had truly shifted her reality. She had overcome her fear, had crossed the lake, and had found not just the parties and the fun, but something much more meaningful. She had found love. From that day on, the lake didn't scare her anymore. It became a place of fond memories, a place where her life had changed forever. And every time she swam across it, she was reminded of how far she had come, of how powerful shifting could be when you truly believed in it. Tracie's life was never the same after that. She continued to use shifting, continued to create the life she had always dreamed of. And as she looked back on the journey that had brought her here, she knew that it had all been worth it. The fear, the doubt, the cold water, it had all led her to this moment, to this life, to this love. And for that, she was forever grateful.